Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Once again, you are warmly welcomed here on your beloved platform, the Platform for Awakening Consciousness. It continues to make international headlines. This surgical strike that Russia has carried out against NATO in Ukraine, it hurts. France cannot bear it. The British cannot bear it at all, since these two countries were leading. So the Western troops, the NATO officers who were present, most of them, according to the information we receive, were from French and British troops, even though there were others. So, Great Britain and France are in disbelief. They have therefore decided to send their war leader to Ukraine to hold an emergency meeting to see as much as possible what needs to be done to defeat Russia, to avenge Ukraine. That's the word, vengeance. And so, instead of holding meetings elsewhere in Paris or London, they preferred to move to the field of hostilities in Ukraine, in Kiev. So this situation is beginning to reach its conclusion. While Donald Trump is fighting, let's say he is fighting, or perhaps he is pretending to fight for the advent of peace, meanwhile Paris and London are clearly showing their intention to continue in their belligerent stance with Russia. So, in the context of this video conference, that's what we are going to talk about. But before continuing, I humbly ask you to share this video conference. Share it in all possible groups. Give it lots of likes. And if it's your first time coming across our video conferences, please click on subscribe. Subscribe. Activate the notification bell. This allows you not to miss our video conferences anymore. Let's go in depth. So, according to official information, Zelensky is hosting the French and British Chiefs of Staff in Kiev. Today, April 5th, 2025, Zelensky is welcoming the chiefs of the General Staff of the French and British armies. These are the highest ranking officials of the armies of these two different countries who are being welcomed today. So, according to information from Kiev Independent, tangible progress has been made and preliminary details have been provided on how the partner security contingent could be deployed. So, everything depends on what the deployment of a contingent of volunteers from countries volunteering for Ukraine. They are going to deploy them for what purpose? While the ceasefire, we are gradually moving away from the ceasefire. They initially said that when there would be a ceasefire, from the ceasefire, what was going to happen? They were going to send troops to monitor the ceasefire. But for the moment, there is not even a ceasefire. There is not even a peace agreement. Every day that God makes, we are moving further and further away from the ceasefire agreement. And now, they are discussing the modalities of sending, the deployment of contingents from these two countries. So what are these contingents going for? Certainly, they now want to be on the ground to help Ukraine. So, the logic of Paris and London is coming to fruition, since their wish is how to ensure they can effectively fight against Russia. Because Russia is presented as the enemy of all Europeans, the enemy of NATO. So, in the meantime, we have the NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, who makes a small comparison. He compares the growth of Europe's military spending during the Cold War era as Europe has doubled or even tripled its military expenditures. And all of this is due to the fact that Emmanuel Macron is pushing them. London is also pushing them. They are made to understand that you need to rearm. The conflict is on our soil. Very soon we will be invaded. Forgetting that even the commander of NATO's joint force, General Cavoli, acknowledges that Russia is ready for a long-term conflict, while Ukraine is not ready, and Europe is not ready at all. Even to ensure its own security, Europe is not ready. So, Mark Rutte says that the number of billions coming in is staggering. He himself is overwhelmed. He says that when you consider the overall increase in military spending in Europe right now, you have to compare it to the Cold War era. Here is what he had to say. These are the words of Mark Rutte, who is the Secretary General of NATO. He himself is afraid of how Europe is rearming, of how Europe is prioritizing what is called military spending. That's on one side. But also on the other side, on the field of hostilities, after this surgical strike that Russia had to carry out, we are witnessing the fact that the Ukrainian armed forces, in a locality called Kranovamesk, which is not far from Pokrovsk, the Ukrainian armed forces are discussing the question of leaving the city. They are wondering how to proceed, whether to stay or to leave. It is one of the very important cities, but it should be noted that the city is almost surrounded, and the Ukrainian soldiers are wondering whether to stay or to leave. Because if the Ukrainian soldiers stay, it is eternal rest. They will be sent to eternal rest. So they are currently assessing the situation. This demonstrates the intensity with which Russia is operating on the ground. So, aside from this major blow dealt to NATO, Russia continues to work very hard on the ground. According to official information we learn, according to the statement made by Gaga, one of the Ukrainian officials, he says this. He says it is a real hell for the enemy in Pokrovsk. Now, because these supply routes to the group have been disrupted, the supplies have not been stopped, but they have been hindered. This is not the statement of one of the Ukrainian army officials, but rather the statement of a Russian official. So, he noted that the Ukrainian garrison will not fight for the strategically important city. And according to this official, the Ukrainian armed forces understand that they are doomed. So, here is what is happening. The situation is becoming very complicated. This meeting, which will take place in Kiev, we will see what it will bring. We will continue to follow this news by the grace of God, the Almighty, everything that will result from it. We will come back to discuss it here on the Tribune of Awakening Consciousness. So thank you to everyone. I'll get back to you shortly. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.